Good Good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Having trouble saying it. June 7th, 2020. I wanted to start 10 minutes ago, but I wasn't able to do it. I just couldn't. So I won't go past the top of the hour because of the news coming on. I like to watch that, at least the first 10 minutes, where they have the hard news. And then after that, then they'll have weather again. And then those kind of Sunday stories like recipe ideas for June, animal shelter fundraiser, stuff like that. Well, it's fine, but I don't watch it. Okay, here's Sunny Brook, Kentucky blended whiskey. All right, so it's made in Kentucky. It's bottled in Kentucky. There's the government inspector. They don't wear this type of uniform today. All American whiskey is inspected by government inspectors. I wish they wore those uniforms still. They're kind of snappy looking, nice jacket, blue cap. But today they don't. All right. That's a Beam-Suntory brand. Do they also, the question is, do they still make Sunny Brook straight Kentucky bourbon whiskey? This I don't know. They don't list it at all on the website, Beam-Suntory, so you never find out there. They don't even have a product specifications list, so it's like, it is a useless exercise to try to find out really anything about this product. You can do searches on Google, Yahoo, two search engines, and it'll bring up liquor stores that sell it. So you might find a description for it on a liquor store website, like I did, because I bought this in Texas. So, excuse me. And they'll have a description, about how great it is, naturally, because it's a sell sheet. These liquor stores, they'll put a description, or Walmart will do that. And they sell a lot of liquor at Walmart here. I know most of y'all watching, your Walmarts don't sell liquor. But in Louisiana, they do, mostly. But that's just a sell sheet they got from the distributor. It'll be, and then they'll copy and paste it onto their Walmart website, whatever. So it's legitimate because it's coming from the company. Ain't nobody from there's no one from Walmart sitting down doing tasting notes and writing up a description of the product. They're not doing that. Okay. So you could find some information about Sunny Brook doing that. Also, it's an 80-20 blend. The straight whiskey in here is aged at least 4 years. We know that much. And it's all from Kentucky. You get a strong suspicion that the straight bourbon in here, if it's bourbon, but then you think about what products does Beam-Suntory produce, right? So it's probably Jim Beam, 4-year age, basic Jim Beam bourbon that for whatever reason didn't meet the quality standards to go in Jim Beam. And so they blended it off to make Kessler. Well, that's a 3-year age, I think. But that's fine too, because you could just take, maybe after 3 years, you could see that this Jim Beam barrel or batch isn't coming out right. Blend it with grain spirits and then sell it. And people are buying it for basic usage anyway. So it works out. And they're doing that with this, I'm sure. These are not made for what I'm doing, taste challenges, swirling it around, assessing it, smelling it, tasting it, evaluating it. Nobody really buys it for that. They buy it just to do inexpensive cocktails, highballs, stuff like that. That makes sense. Okay, so here is Gran Legacy. I bought this at CVS Pharmacy. It was on sale for $10.99. Big, huge bottle, $10.99. Now, it's got a funny texture here, like it's elevated. You could feel it, like braille almost. It's plastic raised on like a rough matte finish, M-A-T-T-E finish. Now here they're giving you good information. American blend, meaning what? It's not from any particular state. More than likely, it's coming from Midwest Grain Products, MGP of Indiana, who produce a lot of commodity bourbon and grain spirits. And so they're like city brewing in the beer industry. MGP does a lot of contract for other people. No problem, because they're experts at it. So they produce all kind of gin, lots of gin. They're big into producing gin. Okay, it says blended whiskey with natural flavors. So they're giving you good information. Blended whiskey with natural flavors. 80 proof. And then they're showing a pot still and a crown. I don't know why they're showing a crown, what Kentucky or Indiana's got to do with royalty, but more than likely somebody just drew it and the company was like, yeah, let's go with that. It looks nice. You can almost guarantee that it's not being produced in a pot still, a copper pot still, but rather in a column still. It's very inexpensive, or if you want to say cheap. It must sell pretty well because CVS Pharmacy has gin, vodka, rum, light and dark, Grand Legacy, this here blended whiskey. They got Canadian whiskey and even Scotch whiskey coming from Scotland, all under the Grand Legacy name. But you'll notice it says the Legacy Distilling Company, the Legacy Distilling Company, Louisville, Kentucky. I know that font. I know these bottles, and I know it's Sazerac. I don't care what they call it. Sazerac does a lot of private label production for Albertson stores, Super Value, Winn-Dixie stores. I've never tried any of their brands, but I'm sure they're just regular stuff like this. And CVS. So I would think that, yeah, Buffalo Trace makes a lot of money for Sazerac with their gourmet whiskey and vodka. Yeah, sure. But I bet you these private labels make a whole lot of money for Sazerac as well. They kind of fly under the radar, you know what I mean? Are you going to see YouTube videos about them? No. Of course you're not going to. People are going to ignore them. Do I blame people for ignoring them? No, I do not. Would I take issue with people having a total disinterest in these kind of things? No. I get it. I understand. I like to do it. I like to do the taste challenges with these. If people don't watch or roll their eyes or they don't care to hear about it, I totally understand that. I accept it. I know what I'm getting into. So I don't take issue with it. Well, I poured too much Sunny Brook, and I'm not going to pour more Grand Legacy to even it up. But you know what? This is not going to be much of a challenge because the Grand Legacy with these natural flavors, and I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way. If it's a natural flavor, it has to be natural. I've read extensively on that, U.S. government websites, Food and Drug Administration, etc. Of course, natural, you have to understand what that can mean. It's flavorings, colorings too, but like caramel color, but flavorings and aroma agents that come from nature, naturally derived. Could be banana skins, banana pulp, could be seeds, roots, a lot of roots, bark, extracts, dehydrated vegetable matter, mold, fungus, all things from that. You say, oh, that sounds terrible. Well, I'm just telling you, read it, and the list is long, long, long. But it could be any of these things, and it might say, oh, it smells like this, whatever. Okay, now use it. If it's artificial, then it doesn't come from nature. It comes from chemical compounds, chemistry, the magic world of chemistry, which a lot of people in this day and age are afraid of chemistry. Almost, you would think they believe chemistry is evil, which, of course, it's a neutral thing. It's a good thing. We can use chemistry to help us with medicine and whatnot. So chemistry is not an evil thing. Chemical compounds are not evil. Chemically derived products are not evil. And we have food colorings, which are derived from chemical compounds, artificial flavorings, and aromas. Articles I read said that the artificial flavoring is actually safer because it's more controlled. There'd be less chance of volatility and getting ill from it. Whereas if it's from nature, you don't have the total control from start to finish. Well, you know, I'm not here to defend artificial flavoring and coloring. I'm not a defender or a promoter of it. I'm just talking about what I read. So these, I think the natural odd flavoring of Grand Legacy is going to give it away, because if I remember, it's been months. But if I remember right, it had a strange lemony, almost marmalade taste. Whereas the Sunnybrook, it's bland, it's dull, it's ho-hum, shabby, if you want to call it, and ordinary. Nothing to get excited about. You pay $7 a bottle for a whole liter, and you get what you're paying for, a drab product. If I ever saw the Sunnybrook straight bourbon, would I buy it? Yeah, because I'd like to see what it looks, what it tastes like being a straight bourbon. The Grand Legacy is probably so terribly dull that Sazerac might have said, let's add a little flavoring to it and give it a little pep. You are allowed to add flavorings to American blended whiskey to a certain percentage, can't be too high. You're allowed to add caramel color to make it darker looking. Since it's aging in a used barrel, it's just not going to pick up a lot of char color, reddish brown. So you want to, if you don't want to drink a product, if you don't want to drink a liquor with added coloring or added flavors, then drink straight bourbon, or just bourbon. Doesn't have to be straight. And you got it. Now, if it's blended bourbon, blended, that's another story, because that can have flavoring and color added. So watch out for that if that bothers you. I see Walmart was selling 2 different bottle sizes of 10 high yesterday, 10 high. And I always see it in there. So if somebody's buying it, it's a blended bourbon, and it's going to have your added flavorings and colorings. Okay, doesn't matter to me. I tried it. It seemed, you know, kind of nice. Not great, but it's fine. I would, for the same price, I would just buy Benchmark, you know, myself, which is straight bourbon, you know. But enough of that. So let's go with this challenge. Going to be fast. Yeah, it kind of has that little lemon, almost like Pledge, but you know, it's nothing like that. But it's a strange aroma. Let's go over here. I'm trying my best not to corrupt the challenge with being tipped off. Yeah, now see, this has that calling card of musty, moldy, Greenwood Jim Beam. Now, I'm telling you, there's something about these Jim Beam products that the more you drink them, you just start to say, oh, that's Jim Beam. You don't know why, it just is. And it's that dusty, musty, even cellar mold aroma. A lot of corn, of course. Corn, flour, corn-derived product, and then that green wood. It's like the wood did not even cure enough and get dry enough. You know it is. I mean, right? You know it was cured all the way. But it just, in your mind, you think it's green something. It's a strange thing, but you recognize this. So I think that so far on aroma only, I think that's the Beam product, Sunnybrook, a Jim Beam product. And I think this is the Grand Legacy, which is a Sazerac hidden brand, you know, the Legacy Distilling Company. Oh. But just look up the code, and I had the U.S. government listing of all the, what they call it, assumed names. And if you look at all the assumed names for Sazerac, you better have a lot of free time, because it goes on and on and on and on. Beam too now. They got a lot of assumed names, and don't even mention Heaven Hill. You would think there's 10,000 distilleries in Kentucky when it's really about 4. All right, main ones, you know, 5. That's just very basic bourbon type flavor. It isn't true bourbon, so of course it isn't true bourbon flavor, but it's a bourbon type flavor. The vanilla, the oak, the corn, not so much corn this time, because I think the grain spirits mute the corn. Same old story, dried fruit cake fruit, you know, in the Mylar bags, nectar from like a honeysuckle. Well, that's it. So if you want bourbon, but you want it a muted, softened flavor, a blended American whiskey might be for you. But I would go with 7 Crown from Seagram's, 7 Crown, because it's just got more flavor, you know. But then you say, well, I'm just mixing it anyway. I don't care about that. Oh, well, then, yeah, you could just buy Grand Legacy and you got it. You're okay. It's not going to be foul or anything. So if you're just doing mixed drinks, you got it in the bag. Let's go over here. Oddly, Lazy Le Bon Temps Relay says a drunk Steelers fan. Right. Let the good times roll here with our tropical storm coming in. It's there. It's out there. We got the early bands of it, but it's weak. You know, it's now I'm not saying you won't get flooding from a lot of rain. These storms can do that, but the wind 50 miles an hour tops, and that's at the center, you know, the eye. So over here right now, it's just like breezy, off and on, rain off and on. It'd be hell to try to walk today, my 1.5 miles, because it's going to be raining, you know, off and on. But I'll make it, I hope. I'll try to exercise all the time. I see a lot of men my age, middle age, and women too, of course. They overweight, eat too much, got a big gut, very dangerous. They're lethargic. You know, well, I would be lethargic too if I was carrying around an extra 100 pounds. But I try to stay fit and trim. Weighed myself this morning a little bit lower than I ought to be. I should be around 145, you know, but I was going to 142.9, I think, this morning. But I have to say that tuna salad wasn't very filling yesterday, but it was good. I mean, the neighbor, she's 90 years old. She gave it to me. So, but a lot of people have this like fixation on eating, and I used to be that way. I had lost over 35 pounds. You know, you're finishing eating. It's like you know how people like to like bang their fingers on a countertop. They're like nervous. It's like a general nervous thing. And then so they'll eat to placate, like a baby wants to suck a pacifier. That's that kind of thing. So they just want to eat all the time, you know. And so it's like a tactile thing. Just want to eat. And then lunch, they're thinking about dinner, and dinner, they're thinking about midnight snacks, and they're thinking about breakfast. So it becomes like a bad cyclical thing. Before you know it, they're as big and plump, and that blood pressure goes up, and oh boy, you're asking for trouble. Well, here I'm a little bit shocked. I was talking all of this stuff. How tall are you? Oh, about 5. My driver's license says 5'10", but I don't think it's really that tall. You know, when you go to the doctor and they measure you, you got your shoes on, they'll say stand on the scale with you're fully clothed, and then they put the little thing on top of your head, and they say 5'10". But you know, you got shoes and all of this on, so it's probably less than that. Might be 5'8". I think when people get older, they shrink. They do. They contract. They contract, and then they spread out. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm a little bit thrown off with this because I was thinking it was going to be just a snap, taste it. I didn't worry about starting later, so I didn't worry. Taste, boom, got it. But it's throwing me off a little bit. See, I'll be honest with these things. I don't try to play it off or misdirect people. You know, if I'm screwing up, if I can't get it, I can't get it. But I think this one is the Gran Legacy, because it's just a slightly bit of an unusual flavor. But oh boy, when I first tried it, it threw me for a loop on its own in isolation. It seems so unusual. But then when you put them in the taste challenges, a lot of times all of those things could be obscured, like Pink Floyd obscured by clouds. You know what I'm saying? So then things get a little wishy-washy, a little confused, like Colonel Kurtz. Things got confused. So in this case today, I would call it a draw, which I'm a bit shocked about. I will say a draw. Which one would I prefer? Either one. I would just go with the price, which in this case would be Grand Legacy, clearly cheaper, $10.99 for a huge handle bottle. You're not going to get the Sunnybrook for that. To my knowledge, you won't. Is this anything to seek out and run down and celebrate? No. But on the other hand, it's nothing to make a big deal out of on the internet talking about how garbage it is. Because anyway, if you were talking about how garbage it is, no one would care because no one even cares about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one cares about it to start with. So it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Now, I'm going to say this is the Gran Legacy. Wood, you know, same thing. Now, if I hold it up and it says Sunnybrook SB, then I'll know I'm wrong. And it does say SB, so I was wrong. Well, so what does that tell you? That I don't know how to tell one liquor from another? No, I don't believe so. I think what it tells you is that these are so similar that it doesn't matter. Ultimately, you can't really tell the difference. So that happens sometimes. So let's go, and then we're going to get to the news. I know they're talking about the tropical storm. People eat when they are bored. Yeah, that's a bad habit, you know. Good morning, Ron. Wow, you're in a good shape then. I try to be, yes, thank God. Good muscle tone since I started doing heavy labor at work. I used to sit. When I was a teacher, you know, you don't work out teacher. What do you work? Your hand with a pencil and a pen? So then lifting up 60 pounds and doing a lot, that was really good. I always did like manual labor in that sense. So I get paid to basically get paid to exercise, you know, which is good. I don't pay to exercise. I get paid to exercise. I'm enjoying a fine aristocrat fruit punch Powerade combination this morning. Subtitle: the subtleties are exquisite. Okay, aristocrat. Grand Legacy sounds like an old folks home. Yeah. Wow. Some of these store brands have the most, you know, kind of poorly done names. You know, they like scream basic, you know, like, you know what I mean? You know how these store brands are. They always come off kind of cornball, you know, corny, not that great. Food Club and all that. I don't know. It's just, it is the nature of it. I don't care. Well, I'm off to the news now. So Berg, Trump, Jens from the Berg, right? Pittsburgh. All right, I've been to Pittsburgh about 3 times. Okay, thanks for watching this video production, you all.